way that tips the scale, the emotional scale, in favor of the problem they're going to face and the consequences versus the cost. So that's typically how that would be done. Hygiene, of course, if you have your hygiene department, when someone's sitting in the chair, their mouth open, then the hygienist should be taking that time to build you up, to talk about how good you are. Besides building rapport, of course, with the patient, it's all about the patient's rapport. But should squeak in some tidbits about you and how good you are, and also remind that patient about any treatment, about any potential things that they notice when they're looking around in your mouth, and also to reinforce anything that you've said to the patient as well. Because if they're hearing it from multiple sources, they're more likely to go forward with it. Now, getting your hygiene department to do that is, of course, leveraging yourself, so you don't always have to do it all the time. The other thing is, though, it's kind of difficult to manage. How do you know if they've been doing that a lot? Well, of course, it'll reflect in your billings, but it's tough to reinforce it unless you're videotaping them and making sure that they're doing it. But still, it's something that to incorporate into your strategy if you're not already doing it. The final way of doing it is, I call Nook and Cranny. So every possible crack and every possible space during the patient's process, from start to finish, from the time they walk in your office or call your office to the time that they're walking out of your office, there should be reminders about certain things that they should be getting. And you could put those up, like, say, for example, on a receipt. No one attaches anything to receipts. You should be attaching something to a receipt that talks about the benefits of getting this and that procedure done, say crowns, or if they got dentures, an implant sort of piece, what they call advertorials, sort of a little bit of an educational piece, but in the design that it's an advertisement to get them to call you in. You may not get compliance automatically from it, but certainly if you're seeing hundreds and hundreds of patients a month, having that in place, you'll get several new cases per month coming in from that. And that's important. Every little nook and cranny of the process, nook and crannies in your business, and that kind of thing. You don't want to shove it in their face, of course. You don't want to have the only TV that's in their waiting room be broadcasting educational messages about what you can do for them. You can't educate people until they're blue in the face. You can only entertain them first and then educate them later, or mix in the two of them. That's how it is. These days, people are expecting to be entertained, and educational messages usually get tuned out. Now for both external and internal, what we need to do is grease the pole. And what I mean by greasing the pole is that it has to be easy for your patients to find you, to be able to book, to get their questions answered, to refer, to answer the marketing piece, and it should be easy for them to talk to you and your staff. So what they mean by greasing the pole means making it easy for the patient's experience from the time they call, say they're completely cold, to the time they get the procedure done, and so they're hot, you're patient for a while. So during that process, there's a lot of variables. Each one of them needs to be covered. And I look at that when I'm looking at one of my clients' offices. I take control of the inquiries. I make sure that it's being handled properly from the inquiry side, from the marketing piece to the inquiry side, straight through to the booking, and to make sure that when the patient leaves the office, they're followed up on. Because you have to make sure that when someone comes in for treatment and they don't accept it, they may accept it later. We just need to keep following up on that. And that's also another part of the big case marketing system that I developed, is that it follows up on them automatically so that you don't have to. Another way of greasing the pole is, of course, presenting it in terms that they can. If you present someone a $10,000 case and you say, I want $10,000, they're going to look at the car they bought for $200 a month. They're going to look at the house they bought for $1,500 a month, they're going to look at all the things that they've bought in their lives that have cost multiple thousands of dollars. They have never ever spent one. They've never ever put a big chunk or bought the whole thing all at once. It's always been in payment plans. If you are not having payment plans, I don't mean you operating as the bank. I don't mean you chasing people down for monthly payments. There are plenty of great financing companies out there, and of course, you have to present them to your patient properly. You can't just say, "Oh, here's some financing. Hope you qualify." They're not going to go for that. It's a private thing for people, but they still need to know that. That's part of greasing the pole. Make it easy for people. Take away the objections that are normally there, and then allow them to come in and get those big procedures. And those methods that I just presented are some of the methods that I've used to boost production in offices, and you should use them because they will boost your production and not require a lot of your work. So stay tuned for the next video, how to sell more cases and how to increase your treatment plan acceptance. If you enjoyed this information and would like to receive 15 free videos of the top questions and answers dentists ask about dental marketing, increasing patients, production and profits, and practice management, please visit www.doubleyourpracticenow.com or dypnow.com.